So these are 220 machines. We've got the trigger behind the machine, the RFID reader up front. We have two identical machines, so we'll take a look at this one over here.
Perfect.
So for these, initially I had these set as tap in, tap out. So the guest would tap their card, turn the machine on, and then once that's done,
I guess I didn't get permissions.
I was going to say, haven't done the permissions yet. Once they're done with their job, they would tap the card again. They could leave the machine powered on, and we had set a state of current draw that was allowed to keep the machine sort of booted up, because it does have about a minute and 30 seconds of boot up time on this machine. So we found that was a little bit cumbersome to have to power cycle it every time. So the hope was that I'd just tap out and be secured again, and then the next user can come and tap it in.
So within the settings, the keep trigger on function allows that power to flow.
Yeah. And that worked really nicely. And if somebody actually tried to fire the laser, it would draw too much current. It would shut the system down, basically say like, hey, you're not an authorized user right now. But at least we can.
And then all of that data is in reports if
exactly.
Interested, yeah.
We did end up moving away from that to cycle it when basically it gets powered off, because I was finding that our guests just wouldn't go and tap out. Mm-hmm. So I'd walk up to it and be like, this has been signed in. And then I'd go back through reports like, this has been signed in for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the last person was actually standing at the machine operating it. So, I got tired of sending those emails to everybody about, hey, go tap in, tap out. I see you in the logs. Make sure you're actually logging back out. And so now we've just made it to where we can just turn it off. That cycles the users to the next one.
And lasers have an interesting power profile.
Yeah.
And that when they fire, it's spike, spike, spike.
Yeah. Well, and it can be all over the place depending on what material you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working on half-inch thick clear acrylic, that's going to be a pretty big noticeable power draw. If I'm working on ultra-thin silk fabric, it barely registers sometimes, especially if we're just doing an engraving where, like you said, it's just pulsing as it's working, not firing power constantly.
And that's where the settings of advanced within the trigger, where you can set the activation and deactivation delays.
Yeah.
So that it will smooth out those spikes and you won't get in your data that the tools turn on, those turn off. Do you ever have a problem where students just unplug the grid system so that they can plug it in and use the tool?
Thankfully not with this one. So what we've done is we've actually purposefully made our plugs incompatible. So we have a 220 volt plug that's your standard, three prong blades, with one sideways blade. But then I've got a twist lock in the wall.
Gotcha.
So on the grit device, it's also our adapter. So yeah, you could unplug it, but you're not going to bypass it unless you get crazy with your own adapter. At which point, do the half-hour training. You'll be done faster.
The maintenance. Do you have maintenance schedules set up for anything with this?
So I do. Some of it is daily maintenance. So every day we have to clean the lenses. I don't have that scheduled in it because that's just every day.
Every day.
But some of it is based on runtime. Mm-hmm. So things like I need to clean some of the deeper optics. I need to clean the number 1 and number 2 mirrors back here over on the right hand side. And it's kind of like an oil change where it's every certain amount of hours of runtime or every certain amount of months of static time. And I can map out in my calendar the months of static time, but that's not really our issue. Our issue is the runtime. So that's where Grit's been really great, is I can know from the data out of the system how many hours has it been running, or at least powered on, and have all the fans blowing around dust and debris. And then I can pull the information from that, or actually it just prompts me with notifications of, hey, it's due. Go and do that scheduled cleaning.
The ability to have the reports and the data that show how popular different tools are, I would imagine that the lasers are fairly popular.
So for our first year, these were the number 1 machine by far. Actually, one of these alone.
And you have the data to show.
Yeah, and one of these machines alone was outpacing every other machine in the shop by itself.
Yeah.
Now we've actually switched where our large format printer is become the new king in the shop, and these are number 2. But they're consistently staying at the same amount of use. It's just that one's jumped. That one's jumped ahead of it.
How many people do you get through the shop per semester, per year, per month? What?
In an average academic year, we're seeing about 1,500 new users created.
So that's a lot of folks and a lot of traffic through the grid system too.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep. And that's another thing is we've definitely had to start keeping track of when are people graduating, because the iCard office, the university doesn't send me a note when people graduate. So what we've started doing is I can do a mass export of all of our users. and I can just have a CSV file where I go through and I deactivate everybody's account. It's still there, it's still sitting there with all their permissions, but when they first come to sign in, it's not currently active. That way, when they come in for the new semester, one button to reactivate their account and they're back in business. But then after a semester, I can see like, oh, well, all these accounts remained inactive, they're probably gone. And at some point, I can go through and clear those out so I don't have a database full of people who haven't even lived in the state in 8 months, you know.
Luckily, it won't matter for grit.
That's true.
So what if I was an experienced user, I wanted to start a laser job, because it's going to run for X amount of time, and then I wanted to go and do any other thing in the shop.
Yeah.
Do you have that set up?
So we don't actually allow that with the lasers, just because that is a safety concern of, you know, walking away from this could potentially lead to a fire in the machine. In fact, this machine is down right now because somebody wasn't monitoring it and a fire started. Luckily, they were still within the machine. We require within the area that we require that they be in this taped boundary on the floor, but they just weren't paying close enough attention.
Sure.
And actually, talking with some staff from Grit, they were recommending that we might start looking into the continuous tap method. So that way, people have to tap as the job's running. Just that way, we make sure they're still engaged and not like in the box, but talking to other people or prepping their next file, too engaged in something else.